bevo.com.
Jon, in your opinion, is there any companies that you think should remain public as opposed to going into private ownership?
Why would you want to be public? You want to be public to sell the company to the public to get your money out, that's fine. You could sell it other places. You want to market in the shares? Well, if you want to market in the shares, you want to market in the shares, but I'm not quite sure what for. In good times, public listings enable you to raise large amounts of money. Well, that's useful for companies that are growing quickly. And I'm running out of really good reasons to be public. Nowadays, what reasons not to be public? Well, if you're a small cap, you couldn't barely sell the shares, the liquidity is extremely low. Characteristic of a weak market as we have at the moment, AIM's in a very bad way mostly. You've got an increasing wall of tedious governance, and most annual accounts now are at least 100 pages of unspeakable guff that nobody reads. So it's hard to see any very compelling reason for being public. Now, if we move into a bull market, and the public market's willing to pay more for anything than private sales, of course public markets are an attractive place to go. But companies that should stay public forever, can't think of any good reason for it.
How do you identify a good public to private target?
It's price and tactical situation. A public to private is easy to do if you've got a bunch of shareholders that are really anxious to exit, can't exit through the market because there isn't enough value. It can be really difficult to do if there's half a dozen hedge funds in there with intellect ranging from the slight to the considerable, but with completely different views. So the mechanics of doing a deal can be very hard. It's ironic that we saw Countrywide, for example, being fought over for a year with endless hostile and semi-hostile bids, and promptly gets, of course, sold into the worst conceivable housing market, and everybody loses the money.
And can anybody do a public to private transaction, or do you need to have experience in that industry?
To do a public to private, it's the same as buying a company in commercial terms, the same as any other. All that's different is the wall of process that goes around it and the tactical considerations. No, not anybody can do it. It requires a degree of nerve. It requires a knowledge of the rules and regs. We've done 24 at Alchemy. Wow. So I think we've done more by a long way than any other firm. And we've only actually ever failed to get one across the line having launched it. And even there we got most of our money back on a stake we'd built up as we went along. So it's been quite painless for us. 24
deals is formidable. So is there a cap, Jon, on how many you can do? I mean, you only have 100 hours in the week.
Deals range from really quite easy, half a dozen meetings of any severity, to incredibly difficult. 25 meetings of interminable length, 20 people around the table, horrible tax issues, horrible employment issues, regulatory issues. Things can take, so there's no right answer to your question. I can look after anywhere between 1 and 10 companies, depending on how time consumptive and how well managed they are. At the moment I look after half a dozen.
bevo.com